Hi, I'm Marcus, and I'm going to give you a painting demonstration up here. I got a 16 by 20 inch standard canvas, pre-stretched. I've already coated it with a thin, even coat of a product called Liquid White. This is a primer or a oil-based medium. It's a thin oil paint. This is a wet-on-wet technique, so we need to get the canvas wet before we start. I'm going to do a little painting that kind of looks like a little path in the woods meadow area. We'll just see what happens. I'm going to start off here with a little bit of yellow. This is called CAD yellow, just a very small amount on the brush. Tap it on the palette to ensure an even distribution of color, and then just use a crisscross motion on here. Just kind of apply it wherever you want, and then we can work with what we have. So I'm just going to paint the sky here like a yellow glow. This is going to be kind of like early in the morning taking a walk. Okay, once we're satisfied with the yellow, I got a few brushes going here so that I don't have to spend all the time cleaning brushes. I'm going to mix up a little bit of gray using black and white. Just mix it with the knife on the palette, pick it up, turn it over. You can mix it marbly, doesn't have to be mixed thoroughly. Again, tap the brushes. Here I'm just using a standard 2-inch house painting brush. You don't need anything fancy to do this kind of painting. So we're just going to go here in the top corners. Same kind of crisscross motion and fill in the blank areas. I'm going to go into a little bit of blue as well. This blue is called Prussian blue. Get a little bit of blue in that sky as well. You always want to keep the corners dark in your painting. Kind of draw the viewer's eye to the middle. And all I'm doing here is using crisscross strokes. That'll kind of give you some action in the sky, and we're going to blend all this. Okay, when you're satisfied with that, I'm going to take a blender brush, start in the light areas, and just kind of blend out these harsh lines. But we want to start in the light areas so that we don't drag all this dark color into our yellow. Move out into the dark areas here. Just using the same crisscross patterns as before. Clean off the brush a little bit, and then just go all the way across. Just like that. You've got a pretty sky. I'm going to clean a brush off here really quick. Just using an odorless paint thinner. Give me a second here. Alright. I'm going to go back into that same gray I was using before. Add just a touch of white to it to lighten it. And what we're going to do is add some like background trees, rolling hills type things, just by touching, pulling down. Touch and pull down. Go all the way across here. Get a little bit more on the brush here. And then this corner, I'm going to maybe add some trees. Make it look a little bit, something a little bit closer. Fill this in a little bit more. Okay. We're going to want to mist this. So by do that, you just hold the brush vertically, tap the bottom of it, and it gives you a misty effect. And this kind of helps separate the different layers in the painting. You can use that area to distinguish one layer to the next. And in oil painting, you always want to work from what's farthest away to what's closest. Fill this in a little bit more. Missed it. Okay. We're going to mix a little bit of dark color here using green and black. Okay, I'm going to grab a number 4 fan brush, load it full of paint, and we're going to add some background bushes here. Just by using the corner of the brush, pushing up. Flip it over when you start needing a little bit more paint. Just using the corner of the brush, and as you work down, add more pressure, widen the brush out, and that's how you get the bottom area. Starting over here, using the top corner, working down. And I think I'm going to about call that good there. Fill this in a little bit better. And I want to add a real light meadowy area, so it's going to take some yellow and green and my number 6 fan brush here. Just a little bit thicker head, the higher number. And then just grab a little bit of that color, it'll kind of look like shadows, a little bit of color from here, and then just drag it across. We'll get a nice little background meadow area, and then we're going to go back up and highlight these bushes as well. Kind of want this in the distance, so we don't really want any texture on it. Call that good. Okay, going to use the same old dirty fan brush I had, but because I have green in it, dip it in a little bit of paint thinner and go through yellow. Yellow and black makes green. I'll lighten that up a little bit. Add a little bit more green, a little bit more yellow. Thin it out just a little bit more. Go back up in here and do the exact same thing you did before. This thinner paint is going to stick to the thicker paint. And that's how you're able to do this while it's still wet. Lighten that up so you can see it a little bit better. But we don't want a whole lot of highlights because this is just kind of background material here. Get a little bit more color here. Finish it off. Alright, we'll call that good. Now we're going to make some trees, and for that I'm going to use a 1-inch brush, go into this dark color, tap. I'll start up here, and just using the corner of the brush I'm going to work down and make some big trees. And this dark color is just so that the highlights that we're going to apply later show. Just fill all this in. Go back, get a little bit more color. Okay, I've added some more trees here. Cut that out just to save a little time. And what I'm here doing now is I'm just blocking in color on the ground. And we're going to need this dark area because we're going to have a grassy area here. And we're also going to have some water in this painting too. So before I go too far, let me add that down here. We want to use the same color that we used in the sky because that's what reflects into the water, and that's the color that you see. Good enough. Okay. Keep adding in this grassy area. You can almost put this on with a roller, but you want a little bit of texture. So this tapping motion works out a little bit better. Okay, once you're satisfied with your basic layout down here, we're going to want to reflect some of this color into the water. Let me bring this up just a little bit higher. And for that, all you do is touch and pull down, straight down into the water. And this is actually one of the neatest, easiest things to do in this style of painting, is adding in the reflections. So we'll grab a dryish brush here, and then you just pull straight across, and that'll give you the indication of some reflections in the water. Now, we need to add some tree trunks. For that, I'm going to load this fan brush with both sides full of brown, and then I'm going to load one side with white. So if you look here, I got white on one side, brown on the other. I'm going to say the light's coming in from the right hand side. So put the white side there, just touch and pull down. Do a little bit more white here. Go into my liquid white here just a little bit. Put a little tree trunk on this tree. Give him a little arm. A lot of this is going to be covered up with the highlights that we're going to add. We'll give this guy over here a trunk as well. Good enough. Alright, now I'm just going to thin this paint down a little bit. Pull the same old dirty brush through the yellow. Because I got black and green already on the brush, it's going to give me a nice light green color. Thin it down just a little bit more so we can get it to stick nice and easy, and then we want to tap the palette, and we're looking for to form a little ridge of paint. Once you got that going on the palette, then you're ready to rock. So we'll go back up here, and then just using the top corner of the brush, just touch on some highlights. Let me thin that out just a little bit more. We're going to keep highlighting these trees. Again, we want to leave a lot of that dark area. Gives your tree a lot of depth. If you followed my paintings before, this is a little bit different than what I normally do. But I kind of like it anyway. And as I said before, I'm going to thin this paint down a little bit more. I decided the light in this picture is coming from the right side, so you're going to kind of want to try and keep these highlights more to the right hand side of the tree. Another really quick, easy thing to do is I'm going to add some little sticks and branches down here by just using the palette knife and scratching. You can get all kinds of little things going on down here. Just kind of add a little bit more depth to the painting. We'll call that good. Get a little bit more of the color. Come down here. Keep adding highlights to some of these bushes and trees. Once we get down here, I want to kind of start forming little bushy areas by just still using the corner of the brush and just tapping on. Okay, we'll call that good. Now I'm going to add a little bit of landmass to this water. Just go straight into some brown with the palette knife, pull it out as flat as you can, cut down, get a little roll of paint on the knife, come over here, just touch and pull. We'll add some highlights to this as well. Just keep working over. add the highlights. Just need a little brown, white, mix it marbly like that, cut across, and then just very lightly touch and drag across. Kind of makes it look like those little rocks and stones or whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now we got to work on this grassy area. So, go back to the 1-inch brush here, and then you just tap down. You kind of got to reload frequently when doing this, but you can kind of form the lay of the land here. And because this paint is thinner than that thick paint, you can kind of bring it over the top of that land area to kind of bring it all together. As a matter of fact, I'm going to thin this paint out just a little bit more, add a little bit more yellow to my color here, just to brighten it up. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can bounce between colors here. I'll show you. I'll add a little bit of different yellow ochre to the brush just to change the flavor. How, why not a little bit of bright red? And we'll go over here. Maybe a little bit too red there. But that's okay. Because it really doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be 100% realistic. Throw a little bit more green into the mix. Paint out just a little bit more. Keep working down this way. Alright. Whoops, dropped my brush. So I'm going to add a path to this. To do that, I'm just going to take the knife, and it's got this little top edge right there. I'm going to load that with a little roll of paint, and then I'm just going to start scrubbing in a path. I'm going to use that small edge for the top area so that we can get wider as we come, and then I'm going to widen out into the long end of the knife. Just keep scrubbing. And this will just give us some texture here because we're going to throw some highlights on the top of this as well. Pull this forward just a little bit. Fill in this bottom corner here. Alright, now for the highlights. Use that same brown and white mixture we used before. Little roll of paint. And just touch and pull. Touch, pull. Let the paint break. Work on this top part. I'll use a small edge of the knife. Touch, pull across. And just like that, it's just another dimension to your painting. That easy. Alright, so we're going to keep working on this grass. I want to lighten this color, so scrape some of that off, dip into a little bit more paint thinner, pull out some more yellow, green, a little bit there, apologize there, and then just keep working down, just tapping, just that easy. You can go over the top of the path to kind of set it into the painting, bring it down, the more you tap, the softer it gets. So if you want a more defined area, like on the top here, get a little bit more yellow to brighten that up. paint thinner so it sticks a little better. But we can define that top area just by, and that's how you can kind of work on the lay of the land. Alright, gotta fill in this little area here as well. Got some little bushes down here we'll highlight. Just set that path right into the painting. And just to show you, it's never too late to add anything to the painting. We'll go back into this dark color here, and I'll show you how you can how easy it can be to reflect the trees here. And we'll just loosely paint them in there. Whatever you got on the top, you got to work down here. And then gently pull that down. Go across. Got a little bit of the brown in there, but that's okay. And then to really spice it up if you want, you can throw some of those highlights in there. And I did the reflection on the dark area first because when you got this thin paint, you have to reflect this much more gently. But it really doesn't matter how you throw those highlights on there when you're doing the reflections because you distort it. Just very, very gently pull down, come across. And there's no mistake we can't fix. As you can see, I had a little bit too much paint on the brush there, and you can just blend it right out. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because they are all correctable. There we go. Last thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a water line. So we'll grab some of that thin white paint that I used to prime the canvas with, pull it down flat, cut across, get a little roll of paint, and just come up to the edge here and just scrub in a water line. Clean it off, come across, keep rubbing in the water line, just like that. And when you're doing this at home, you can take all the time you want to add all the detail. I'm just trying to give really an idea of how some of this stuff is done and how easy it is and how anyone could give it a try. So that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Cheers.